Welcome everyone to today's episode of The Day Shift. It's part of a little program that the Portland chapter of the USBG has put together to sort of talk about different issues and things that we do behind the bar and in the bartender community. Today we're joined by Guy Streitburger from Chaval. He's a bartender there and has been around this town forever?
Forever.
Forever. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have my notes, but that's what they told me.
Yep.
And next we have Kristen Mixter. She's the bar manager over at Tipo. And Austin Williams is a bartender with me over at Black Cow and also in the rooftop bar at Bayside Bowl. And I guess before we get going today, we'll do a little word from the sponsors, and I'm going to make a drink while I do it. Today's episode is brought to you by Hardshore Gin. They are right here in sunny Portland, Maine. There it is. And they're not only doing that, but they're also kind of helping deal with the shortages in hand sanitizer. So you can get your hand sanitizer there. They're doing some really interesting stuff right now with their curbside to go. They've expanded to bottling their own tonics, which I'm really excited to try. I think I've got an elderflower and chamomile here. These are all available for pickup curbside. And I've also been told that their patio is going to be opening right at the beginning of July. So it's good to see that area is going to be rocking and rolling shortly. Today's episode, let's make sure I don't cut myself on air here. Today's episode is going to be about just creating and coming up with new cocktails, sort of everybody's individual processes. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of overlap between some of us, but we're just going to discuss kind of what we do and all the weird ways that drinks come about. So cheers to that.
Cheers.
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 Ooh, Jaron, you dirty dog. This tonic is really good. Yeah. Nice work. Let's start with Kristen, actually. As you're the one person that I haven't actively worked with on this panel. So tell us a little bit about the bar program at Tipo and some of the things that you try and, I guess, work into the cocktail list there.
Right on. Yeah. So Tipo is an Italian-inspired small plates pizza pasta restaurant. So for the bar program, we definitely like to look to a lot of the Amaros, specifically from Italy. And they work their way into pretty much every cocktail that is on the list. From there, we kind of focus on a variety of base spirits and obviously seasonal. The cuisine, the food at Tipo is very seasonal and local. So anything that I can get from the kitchen and from things that we grow on our garden, as much local seasonal ingredients as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. And as I was mentioned earlier, Guy's kind of been around Portland scene for a while. I guess before Chaval, it was Bramhall for years and really got the program going there. And then was it Vignola and Ginkgo Blue as well?
Yeah.
Keep going all the way back in time. So how has your process changed a little bit since, let's go with Ginkgo, because I still have people, or I can definitely remember from when we worked together, people bringing up the drinks that you and Pat McDonald were making there and badgering me to make them as if I worked with you as well.
I mean, at Ginkgo, it was a lot more trial and error. It was kind of shooting from the hip, a lot less experience behind what I was doing then. It was a lot more like free form. I had a lot more new ingredients that I didn't have as much experience with. So I was just kind of like throwing things to the wall and hoping that they would stick. Knowing like some of the background of the flavors, That's kind of the process
Mhm.
that I went through.
Have you
Now
tightened
it's-
it up? Have you tightened
Yeah.
your process up in like,
Totally.
so back then you were sort of, I think we all have that moment maybe where you're like, holy shit, look at all these. Like I remember when I decided, like figured out like Jamaican rums and I was blown away by it. And suddenly I needed to put, Smith and Cross or Ray and Nephew in everything.
Do it in
And,
everything. Exactly.
I think, do you find yourself when you get excited about new ingredients, Austin, when how often do you, I guess, fall into that trap of maybe playing around with ideas to using them consistently?
I mean, I feel like almost every time I get something new. I remember when Sfumato was first being, sold by the state, and trying to put that in as many drinks as possible, and drinking tons of it neat at home, thinking that I'm gonna adjust my palate to try and figure out what other flavors it'll be compatible with. And I think even with ingredients like that, I think even back to less than a year and a half ago when I was working at Vina's, like I tried to put Sfumato or whatever new ingredient I could get my hands on in like 3 different drinks there. And of course, being shot down because there needs to be more variety than that. I mean, but you can get really carried away, and it's fun.
I definitely think so. I think we all have that. And I think that's one of the things that happens with Maine in general, because of the way the state-run liquor works. There's some of these products that we're familiar with that we've seen in bars out of state. And then as soon as something comes into state, it's like, now it's on every cocktail list.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the things I love about the distilleries, I guess in particular like Hardshore kind of opening up in this area, is it's really nice when they're right in your own backyard. Where would you say your list right now, Kristen, is going to be at, kind of switching to the summer and obviously patio stuff, because we're all going to be sitting on patios for restaurants for a while?
Yeah. So, I mean, considering, things aren't 100% back to normal, I've been working on not only a more summery cocktail list, but also using ingredients that have a longer shelf life. So we're not worried about juice going bad if something isn't selling, or we can just have the pre-bottled cocktails ready to go. So lots of shrubs, doing a celery shrub with some Hardshore gin, actually. So it's going to be great. And then just I'm really heading in the fresh herb direction right now. Just because we have a little herb garden right outside that I can just grab stuff from all the time. So that's definitely the lane that I am going, and then always have some sort of nice Negroni riff on the menu.
Yeah, that's essential, and for me, dangerous. It's definitely it becomes a sort of a descriptor of my evening sometimes when I'm Negroni'd. And it's always just, that first sip is always so bracing. And then by like halfway through it, I'm like, this is candy.
Right.
This goes down pretty great. Yeah. When you're working with an ingredient like a celery shrub, how does that come about? Were you thinking about that straight from the beginning, or how did that drink come about?
Yeah. So, in talking with my fellow employees, the idea of a shrub came up. It's something that I've been wanting to do. And I had actually worked at a bar back in Connecticut, where we did a celery gin and tonic. So it was a celery infused gin, and I thought that a celery shrub might be a nice step forward with that concept. So yeah, it was just something that I drew inspiration from, a former job with other people.
I love the idea of a celery shrub too, because I think typically when I think about shrubs in general, the other element outside of, say the vinegar and sugar is usually a lusher, more fruity,
Right.
juicy thing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I'm
Pops to mind.
super intrigued about seeing, it used in that application.
Yeah.
Austin, are you working on anything right now? Let me rephrase that. You'd better be working on stuff right now for the patio opening in a couple weeks.
As a matter of fact, yes, I've actually been working on a lot of shrubs as well. I've got 3 which are in the fridge right now. I popped open the other day. I got a nectarine. Nothing, I mean, as outside the box is like a celery shrub. They're definitely in the stone fruit realm. One's a nectarine one, one's a rhubarb one, and the other one I'm working on is a strawberry one. And definitely leaning towards lighter things, which might work together with better summer spirits. Like, I mean, gin. That's what better spirit to use for any kind of hot day drink than,
Do you find yourself starting with, say, the non-spirit elements? Do you let that dictate where you're going with the drink in this case, or do you typically start off with maybe the spirit side of things and then work in the shrub elsewhere? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Most times I'll start with the spirit. I find I have a lot more success if I start with the spirit and I make a more spirit forward drink, and I try and build flavors to complement or to contrast around the spirit's flavor. Got a question. Apple cider vinegar is usually the one that I'll go for. It's a bit more rounded, not as harsh as a white vinegar.
I like using the champagne vinegar, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's a certain dryness to it that comes.
Apple cider vinegar is great, like organic. The mother's in there, keep it going. But having cider vinegar, champagne vinegar to lighten and brighten is like beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I guess along those lines, Guy, when you're working with some of these summertime ingredients, do you tend to work when summer drinks start to come out and you're working on them, do you tend to go more away from like the spirit forward stuff and start implementing a little bit more of the lighter elements?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think just because you're thirstier, you want something lighter, you want something easier drinking, and you tend to just lean naturally toward a lighter ABV cocktail.
Drink more of them.
It just you've got a lot more going on for the full day of sun than darkness at say 3:30 p.m. than sun going down at 8:30 p.m. Mm-hmm. So you need something to be able to last throughout that extended sunlight.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I liked with you guys at Chaval, Pat, and all of them, kind of invigorating the use of vermouth. I think they're great, ways to balance out and lower the overall ABV of a cocktail.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I think in the last couple of years that most bars and restaurants know how to treat their vermouth at this point.
Yeah.
You can remember when I started off, I certainly never put, sweet vermouth sat in my well until it died, and then it sat there for 3 months. And then some poor fool would order a Manhattan, and I would make him the worst Manhattan he's ever had. But so I'm really excited, I guess, this summer about using vermouth in cocktails. Do you, the program you have at Tipo, do you kind of balance out some of those flavors with vermouths? Obviously, like Italian, food and cuisine, typically, I think of vermouth at this point with that.
I mean, I am a huge vermouth fan. And all wine-based, aromatized wine type thing. So I like to use them as much as possible, especially in the summer. I guess I am looking to expand the vermouth portfolio a bit, though. That's something that I'm hoping to broaden in the coming months for summer. because I love it so much. Yeah.
I think that's great. And I'm going to do a quick little reset for some of the people joining us for today's day shift, sponsored by Hard Shore Gin, right here in Portland, Maine. Today on the panel, we've got Guy Streitburger from Chaval. We have Kristen Mixter from Tipo and Austin Williams from the Black Cow here in Portland, as well as Bayside Bowl. I am your host, Mark Hibbard. I also work at Black Cow. And this next question I have is more directed towards Guy's mustache. Was your mustache really upset when that pompadour came on the scene? Because I felt like the mustache was really keeping me together with your look.
Mhm.
The pompadour really kind of pushed it over the edge for me today.
Yeah. It's jealous.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Very jealous.
Yeah.
You're getting those vibes too? I thought I was the only one. But if you're feeling it,
It's
through the video, then I know that I'm feeling it now.
okay. Do you consider your pompadour when you're working on new drinks and how that little wave is going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, mostly the shaking. The shaking is a big consideration.
Mhm.
You know, if I'm moving it around or not, I gotta get a double check about that.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah.
sense. See, this is a little insight, Kristen, into what the three of us have to deal with when we're getting ready for work and thinking about drinks. Like if I'm working on an egg white drink and I'm sipping, I'm trying a half a dozen of them. By the end of the day, my mustache smells terrible. And it usually, it smells terrible on a good day, but if I'm working on an egg white drink, it's going to be rugged. So,
Never thought of that.
Yeah, So that's why we do these little roundtable discussions like this, so we can kind of see all the views.
Yeah.
Of what's going on. Here's something that I was reading about a while ago that always it's something that I've definitely done numerous times, but I'll start this one off with Austin. Do you ever come up with a drink name or have something that just sticks in your head where you're like, shit, that's a great drink name. Now I need to make a drink for that drink name?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, I feel like that's one of the circumstances where I'll usually start with my non-alcoholic or lighter ABV ingredients first, because I feel like I can work around the name a little bit more with broader, more familiar ingredients, and then for whatever I want to have the base spirit be, I can eventually figure that out, or even just make a lower ABV drink and just keep what I have on the standard. But it's a lot more fun when you have a name that you can start with. But I'd say my success rate is usually better with naming afterwards.
I'm always, if I don't have the drink name by the time the drink name is done, I'm usually screwed by that point. Like then I'm just going through especially if it's something I'm doing for maybe just a one-off or a special, where then I'm like going through my iPhone looking for, a song title or a lyric.
Yeah, some sort of inspiration. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I've had a lot of success with asking guests to name my drinks for me. I give it to them for free, and then they tell me what comes to mind, and that's a good go-to for me.
Yeah,
I like that. I think back when Guy and I were at Bramhall, I had a drink that I couldn't think of something, and I was like going through the phone, pulled up, I think like Bullet in a Blue Sky or something like that, which was from this album that I had when I was a kid, like listening to like new metal. It was from Sepultura, but I didn't realize they were covering a U2 song. And I remember like when that came on, some dude was like, "Oh, are you a big U2 fan?" And for those of you who don't know, I am absolutely not a big U2 fan.
I just remember you saying we had to change it immediately. Like you finding out we had to change the name of the drink immediately.
Yeah, they are easily my second least favorite band of all time. And then we had to go through a process of reprinting the menu because I didn't want to be associated with that. Also, after I argued with the guest, telling them that it's absolutely not.
Yeah, yeah.
So that went over well.
Now I know where to find all the inspiration for the summer menu.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, Liz Smith. I don't know who she's asking this for, but she says, where are some of the other spots that you're getting drink names from? Let's go, Guy.
For a while, I basically would just write down in like a cocktail notebook anytime I heard anything that resembled a good name, so that I would have like an arsenal of cocktail names. Another one was I needed basically Italian cocktail names, and there was like 200 Italian fables.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. Some really great names in there. So I remember reading through all of them and cherry picking out a whole bunch and just using all of them. So some of the ways that I find different names.
Mm-hmm. I like stuff like that. And it's such a weird part of the drink process too, to where I get hung up on the name, because you can have this great drink and then I've had some dud names that I know it's just, and then if that drink doesn't sell, I'm like, it's got to be the name. It's the only reason this drink that's full of a whole bunch of ingredients that nobody knows what they are, it's got to be the name. It's like the hung up, and then I'm like, well, maybe I didn't do it right. What are some of the things you see? Let's play. What is it from Carson, the Karnak thing? Like, where do we think the next trends that are going to be are as far as cocktails and stuff? We always see, for a while, every list had to have, a drink and a half with, the smokiest mezcal in the world, or pretty much still see chartreuse on everything, and for good reason. But
thank God.
Or what are some of the things you think, Kristen, that are maybe going to be coming down the pike in the future here?
I mean, I think it's this one's kind of already starting, but really well crafted, curated mocktails are definitely a climbing trend that I've been seeing, and now there are even non-alcoholic spirits available. So I think that market's probably going to grow a lot. And I mean, I'm working on some of that myself. So
yeah, I think that is kind of that, and also the lower ABV.
Low ABV.
It's it's kind of, I think it kind of comes about from a lot of us who've maybe been in the industry for a long time, kind of beat ourselves up. And like, I personally can't or shouldn't, go out and have those, 4 Negroni nights anymore. But if I can use some of these ingredients, maybe I've still got my gin in there, but if I can, use a lower ABV fortified wine or something that's aromatized like beer, or, something along those lines, I think it really can add a lot of depth and still, get me home to the wife and kids. When I do get a wife and kids. What are you seeing in the future, Austin?
Readily available ingredients you have, for people to make drinks at home, those are definitely going to sell really well. And no one's going to want to sit outside on a sunny day when you're stuck on your front porch or part of your roof, in my case, and only have one drink. I'm not trying to kill a winter hangover. I'm trying to get a summer buzz on.
Yeah. What are some of the things you're using when you're looking at these, since we definitely all agree about this lower ABV trend? What do you, Guy, what are some of the other things that are maybe off the beaten path that you're using when you're going after a new drink like that?
For a lower ABV?
Yeah. I mean, obviously the vermouths and things like that, or there's some of the other stuff that you recommend?
I mean, any of the fortified wines, like a vermouth or a sherry, or rancio is one that we utilize in a lot of the cocktails, which is if you haven't had it, it's absolutely fantastic.
Why don't you give us a little, tell us about it.
It's an oxidized style of wine that is somewhat I usually explain that it's somewhat similar to sherry. It's just not fortified like sherry. It goes through an oxidization process and has some of those same kind of finishing qualities to it. But it is a completely different animal. It's hard to describe it without actually tasting it. It's got wonderful tannins, still has some really nice bright acidity, and it differs from producer to producer. Like, it is completely different, but it's spectacular. And again, on the lighter side when it comes to alcohol, and so you can really kind of craft around it.
Yeah, I think things like that, or honestly, the old faithful for me in the summertime is some sort of shandy.
Yeah.
When shandies are good, to me, they're awesome. I absolutely love shandies, especially in this town where there's, I don't know, an embarrassment of riches when it comes to breweries that they're just doing so much. And a lot of these fruited sours that are coming out, I think just, you can almost fortify those, again, or, throw a little bit of other ingredients into those to kind of build on. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing okay. Everybody all right?
Sure.
Wonderful. Good.
Actually, there's a question up here on the chat. Unique ingredients to achieve balance other than citrus in cocktails.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah.
I also am proving the fact that I'm a Luddite and have no idea how to get to the chat. Oh, look at that. There it is. All right. Yeah, so Kristen, since you have a good handle, what are you thinking on that?
Yeah, so that's another part of the journey towards, trying to keep a minimum on the perishable ingredients. Citric acid is always one that can brighten up a cocktail without adding the flavor of a lime or a lemon. And then, something like a milk punch, you've still got the citrus in there, but it's a different application. Yeah, that's all that's coming to me right now.
Yeah, I definitely know Austin is familiar with using the different, the chemical side. Like, we use a fair amount of it with it sort of came about just from using it in the soda program that we have, because one of the things that I found initially that was, we're making these great syrups and fresh fruit and all of this, but it was lacking this kind of punch or this familiarity that you have that when you crack a soda, you're like, it didn't quite remind you of a soda that you were getting out of a bottle. And one of the things that I think we've been able to do is play around with not just like the citric acid, but, we've got a whole wall of them, like at this point, with like malic acid and lactic acid. They're really interesting ways to balance stuff out. And I know, Austin, you've been playing around with it a lot, because we've been basically modifying the acidity on all of our to-go cocktails.
Yeah.
What's some of the stuff that you've been finding out with that?
Yeah, it's been really interesting, just testing even the different formulations of that certain brands will put forward of certain acids. And then of course, if you're making a blend, just because each different acid that you use has such a wildly different sharpness to it, or viscosity, or mouthfeel, it's like almost day and night difference between citric acid and lactic acid, where lactic acid, you get that more fruity, like wide, coats your palate.
So round feeling, like it has that acidic bite, but it feels
it's juicy,
creamy on you. Yeah.
And then there's citric acid, where you get that very direct, piercing punch, where you can almost feel it like a slightly bit like an electric pop. It's like we were talking about the other day, where there's some ingredients where you can describe it well. It's almost like you're sucking on like a button cell battery. You get that little electric pop.
Yeah. That's exactly right. Have you been playing around? I know you're at home with kids these days, Guy. So have you been having your children make you anything with any of these modified acid blends lately?
I have not. No, I haven't. I gotta have them step up their game. I guess they are just lacking. They're slacking on the modified acids.
Yeah. Well,
where's HR?
It starts at the top.
I know. It's my fault. I mean, I'm the one to blame.
Yeah.
I'm the one to blame here.
But it's, you'll get them there. They've got to be pretty close to start working behind the bar themselves, right?
Yeah, soon. Yeah.
2, 3, yeah.
Yeah, my daughter's 3. My son's 5.
All right, high time.
Yeah, my son's 5. He should have already been to work. I know. I'm sorry. He should have already been working. But.
Yeah, we're all having, the whole reason we're doing this is because work and jobs are a little scarce right now. So don't be too hard on them there. We're kind of at the 30-minute mark. Before we wrap it up, I do just have just one other question. I can start this one off with Kristen, and it's just a little segment that we're calling What's Good Here, where I sit there and I ask you, what's good here? What would you like to make me that's good at Tipo?
Okay. So we have a riff on an espresso martini. It is called the Alle Undici. Speaking of naming cocktails, that one was one that I'm proud of. I had recently traveled to Rome, and I learned that it's frowned upon to drink a coffee that has any dairy in it after 11 a.m. So Alle Undici means at 11.
Oh, nice.
There's no dairy in this espresso martini. It's got some house-made espresso syrup, a little bit of local vodka, some Montenegro, some Frangelico, and a little bit of saline solution to pop all those flavors.
Is it sweet?
It's just sweet enough. It's got plenty of coffee, though.
And Guy, bro.
Yes,
Guy,
sir.
Bro. What's good here? Like, not what you giving them over, like, what's good here? Like,
how about a Spanish gin and tonic with some
you making that with hardshore, bro?
You know what? How about some hardshore gin?
I think you should.
That sound good?
Yeah, something full body. I like that.
Little infused cube. We'll do it with maybe a little Aperol, a little grapefruit in the ice cube. Put that right in. Bro. Some juniper berries.
Bro, is it in a manly glass? You put it in a manly glass there, bro? I can't do those little dainty ones.
For you, I will.
Thanks, bro.
You're welcome.
Thanks, bro. And Austin, what's good here? What are you gonna make me tomorrow at work?
Oh man, I mean, we've got so many of those great stocks around, those different citrus stocks. We've got so many great acid amendments. We've got different salines we can work with. But I've really been hankering for I've had this hankering for a really good highball. I feel like, I don't know, we could work something out that's a little more rounded, something a little more on the oaky creme brulee minty side,
I love mint. Perfect. and there's the money shot for Hardshore. Much love. Yeah, I think that's about it for today. I want to thank our 3 guests, Guy Streitburger from Chaval and Portland at Large. Also like to thank Guy's mustache and Guy's pompadour. Kristen Mixter, thank you so much from Tipo. Really looking forward to your patio and that celery shrub that we're talking there. And last but not least, we've got Austin Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you everyone at home for joining us. Please check out our website, www.saveourshifts.com. We've got a lot of great content going on there. Tons of new cocktail videos coming down the pike with a bunch of great Maine bartenders. And we've been working with some really wonderful sponsors. And to that note, thank you again to Hartshore Distilling. They're doing some really great stuff, not just their, flagship gin, but as Austin pointed out there, their North Oak gin is killer. And it seems like Jaron is definitely doing probably some of the best house-made tonic I've had in a really long time. I gave up on doing house-made tonics a while ago because they were a pain in the ass, and he's doing some really good stuff. So thank you everybody for joining us, and I guess that's a wrap.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.